Rajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamu alaikum, Jiayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chunishumme, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimus, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Harishuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasala Marhaba, Buna, Mucho Gracias, Swabia, Balli Kareaya, Hoj Galden and Aya Saya, Huyamora, Chivato, Chihajot, Kalimera, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching this morning alongside my very amazing, well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajra, Assalamu alaikum, how are you feeling today and what is it all about, your obsession for these hairbands these days?
Assalamu alaikum, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for introducing me. Alhamdulillah, I think temperature has dropped.
Shukr, Alhamdulillah.
I think Shahzad is the happiest person on the planet because he's often complaining about temperature is very high and it's not working. And I think I feel for you because you're wearing the three-piece suit and it's very hot outside and certainly that translates the temperature into the studio. But certainly with a drop in the temperature outside, obviously the diffusion is happening inside our studio too. But obviously I love my hairbands and I have found a newfound love for them. So
this is a recent one because, so imagine,
no,
okay,
you know,
for our viewers in 47 different countries, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen my sisters wearing hairbands, you know, because my mother won't allow them to take them off. Okay, that's one point. So in life, obviously, you know, Hajra might have been through that phase, but very recently I saw her Facebook or Instagram post where she said that, okay, I have a new obsession for hairbands. So I wanted to ask you, how did you come across this obsession once again?
I mean, it's just trendy, so I'm following the trend and I really like it. So I'm not that sort of a person that would, fit herself into what is being trendy, what is being cool. But if I feel that if my personality's vibe is matching with the trendy thing, so I wear it. So there's no any particular logic or reason behind it. You do something because you like doing it. There's no reason behind it,
and
right?
That's good, and that's the rule of a happy life. So for everybody who's out there, if you've been feeling like doing something and you think that, okay, you know, what is somebody else going to say? Please make sure that you do not think that far beyond. But in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, today it happens to be a very happy day for all of us Pakistanis, Raja, and the reason to it, and that is that the 16th edition of the Asia Cup is going to get started, initiated today from Multan. The curtain raise is going to be at 2 p.m. today. Make sure that you guys are going to tune into PTV Sports because PTV Sports will be bringing you live action. And if I'm not wrong, I think India has won 7 times, then Sri Lanka has won 6 times and Pakistan has won 2 times, and this time around it's the one-day international format, which means that it's going to be a 50-over format. So whichever World Cup is closer, so imagine that it's going to be the T20, in fact the one-day international World Cup right after the Asia Cup. So that's the kind of format which takes place in Asia Cup, and the last time it took place in UAE in 2018. India are the reigning champions of this format. And certainly, since Pakistan is hosting it, I think everybody should really be happy. And for all of those individuals who are in Multan and elsewhere, please make sure that you make your way towards the Multan Stadium because today is going to be Pakistan versus Nepal. And for further details, you can certainly kind of tune in or log on to PTV Sports and you'll find me there. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's very true, and we are very excited, Shahzad, to watch you there, and I think we certainly love listening to your commentary. And now moving on to our top stories, which is Prime Minister Anwar al-Haq Kakar is chairing a meeting of the Federal Cabinet to discuss the issues of inflated bills. Cabinet meeting is to discuss proposals related to the reduction in the bills, and the meeting has been called after 2 rounds of consultations with officials to provide relief and to relief to prove inconclusive. The Ministry of Energy will submit the recommendations on electricity bills to the Federal Cabinet for the approval, and I think this meeting is the need of the hour because we have been discussing it yesterday that inflated electricity bills are a heavy burden on the people, especially the working class, the middle class and the lower middle class, which does not have lots of resources in a poor country like Pakistan.
And Hajar, just today, you know, while I was in my makeup room, so my makeup artist actually was asking us, in fact, he was asking me, was like that, you know, since the meeting is taking place, so do you think that next month we won't be receiving such inflated bills? And I was like, you know, till the time the bill's going to come to your place, you know, you shouldn't really be thinking about that. And one of the most amazing solutions which people have come across is those solar panels which they have kind of installed. All of those people who have installed these solar panels are quite happy. My father's not happy because the bill was too much. You know, it was excessive. You know, imagine 193,000 rupees for a household over here in Islamabad that you're going to pay as electricity bill, where your rent you know, the place that you've rented is actually somewhat around 120 and 140,000 does not really make sense. You know, it's mind-boggling. So for all of those people, we do know that, you know, we're passing through these challenging times, but please make sure that you hold the rope of faith, you know, so firmly that inshallah in days to come, everything is going to be smoother and we'll be living a happy life, not bothering about, you know, whether to turn on the air conditioner, whether to turn on the fan or whether to turn on the lights or not. Because we always, you know, any household will have that one individual who's like, बेटा ये बत्ती फालतू क्यों जलाई हुई है बेटा ये तुमने फालतू बत्ती क्यों खर्च कर रहे हो so please make sure that every household member needs to contribute over here. You really need to find your resolve that okay, we can kind of sleep in one room, turn on one air conditioner, you know, going back in time, you know, I think that's how it was.
I think that's a very temporary solution. We need some long-term solution, but of course I think our government is working towards it, and we will see some relief coming soon. This is what we hope and pray in the first
exactly Aja, but for now, because you know, I still remember that, you know, that the first ever air conditioner we have had at our house was when my nephew was born. Okay. And so my sister walked in one day and she said to my father that, hey, you know what, he cannot actually survive, unfortunately, without the air conditioner. So my father bought an air conditioner and all of us would sit in that room. That's it, you know. So meanwhile, when you haven't really figured it out that what alternates you're going to move on to, please make sure that each and every household member contributes to this cause, that okay, we're going to make sure that we are going to use or utilize the electricity to the minimums. Everybody needs to do it collectively so that that one member who actually pays for everybody's certainly is not burdened.
That's very true. And now moving on to our segment, which is a very interesting segment, because Shahzad and I decided that we would like to introduce this genius as someone who has even crossed the Einstein, right? Because she has so many feathers in her cap, she's just a child and she's achieved so much. But I would like my co-host to introduce her, because I think he had made some very excellent introductions.
So imagine for somebody that who's going to, you know, so imagine that the total number of subjects, even if you're going to go pick up in GCSEs, is somewhat around 11.
Yes.
You know, that's what my younger brother did, you know, so 11 A stars, that was wonderful. But how do you react when you get to know that, okay, somebody has appeared in 34 exams and in all of these exams he has scored A stars? You know, that's something which is mind-blowing, mind-boggling. And for somebody to have a higher IQ than Einstein, not just that, she actually enrolled for her UCAT examination as well. She scored 99%. So every exam she has been preparing for and she's been appearing in, ladies and gentlemen, she's made Pakistan proud. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined by the only person who's far more genius than Einstein. She is Miss Mahanoor Cheema. Hello, assalamu alaikum Mahanoor. How are you doing today?
Walaikum salam. I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for making us all proud. It's wonderful to have you on board this morning. And so certainly, first things first, Mahanoor, when did you or your parents realize that you are really smart, intelligent and wise?
I would say that at a very young age, I exhibited signs of intellect that were quite different to my peers. And from there, my parents gathered that I was perhaps intellectually quite different from the rest of my classmates.
So when somebody is intellectually so different, do they really have to kind of pick up 34 subjects and appear in each and every one of them? Or do you think that there can be other avenues to do that?
I felt that I had a talent, and if I didn't put it to use very quickly, it would go dormant. I wanted to do something good and positive for the world with my talent, and I felt that the first step to it would be through my education. And my GCSEs were my first big academic milestone, so I wanted to achieve something different in them.
Right. So, Mahanoor, we know that you're a genius, and we would like to explore you as a person. And apart from your, intellectual capabilities and your high mental faculties, what are your hobbies and what are you like in a person? So, what is your day, in your life, in a daily routine?
I spend a lot of time on my extracurriculars. So, particularly music. I have a very deep love for music, even from my childhood. My mother has inculcated that passion for different types of music in me. So I play the piano. I've completed grade A theory and practical piano with distinction. I'm currently working on a diploma in music. I love to play cello. I love to do horse riding, swimming, badminton, chess.
So you're not leaving behind anything. I mean, it's so amazing to see such bright, talented, individual who's actually going across all of those things which he wanted to experience in a life. And, more praise for your parents as well for making you, giving that ability to kind of do that and explore yourself. It's beautiful. But if we are to kind of speak with someone, who's actually scored 34 A's where the compulsory subjects are somewhat around 8 or 9, didn't you really think that, okay, 34 is going to be too much? Because a person like me, even 8 subjects are too much for me.
I had actually initially planned for 50 because academic burden has never been an issue for me. Wow. So I had planned that I was going to do something really extraordinary and make a world record in most number of subjects as well. But unfortunately, due to timetable clashes and issues with schools and councils, I had to drop quite a few of my subjects and settle on 34.
Right. So, Manur, what do you plan to do in your future? What are your future plans?
Doctor, I guess.
Yeah. So,
I guess.
So, and what is the particular area of interest which intrigues you and which you feel that needs improvement, and through your highly intellectual stamina, you want to improve that particular area?
In the future, my current focus is A-levels, obviously, but beyond that, I want to pursue medicine, I want to be a doctor, and my area of specialization, I'm narrowing it down between neurology, cardiology, and cancer studies, oncology.
But you can do it all together, so imagine for somebody who's got A stars, 34 A stars, I think she can be a neuroscientist or a neurologist or an oncologist or anybody, whoever she wants to be, so it's great. But in addition to this, there's one more thing which I wanted to ask you while I was going through your profile and bio. And, somewhere you mentioned in an interview that, earlier days of your school, you were a very reserved person. You weren't,
yes.
You would hesitate talking to your friends, it was a problem for you. And do you think that it's really a problem with smart children only, or it was something else which made you hold back?
I think it was a mix of being, especially in Britain when I moved here, it was a mix of being from a completely different culture and having been raised in completely different surroundings. But I slowly adapted to that. The biggest problem, the biggest challenge to overcome was that none of my interests aligned with that of my peers. And it was just very difficult to find common topics of conversation. I always felt very othered in class.
Right, Manur. So, like Shahzad alluded to the fact that you're a reserved person, you're a shy person, and this is a trait that I can identify myself with, because I also
being
find
on television.
I mean, yes, I've improved that, but I was a person that I also feel shyness in connecting to a lot of people.
Me too.
And okay, it doesn't feel like it, but obviously when you are you have such sort of mental or intellectual faculty. So do you feel that you are invested a lot in the books, or books can provide you sort of an escapism, especially when you are not in a mood to talk to people and you have a very overpowering sort of shyness inside you?
And just look at the background, it's all books. I cannot even
that's
see
why I
a cello or a guitar or anything, it's just books.
That's why I asked.
Mashallah.
Go ahead, Manur.
I would say that at this stage in my life, I've developed more of a better social ability and ability to make friends and connect with my peers. But definitely at a younger age, because I struggled so much with that, books were a true form of escapism and making friends when I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's wonderful. And there's one more thing, Manur, and that is that, so the kind of schools and colleges we went to, they wanted us to reproduce every word and sentence in order to get, 100 marks or A-star grades. As soon as I went on to university, it was more about, what you could reproduce, comprehend in your terms, exactly saying the same thing but with different words. And it helped me, so I was a scholarship holder in my university. I got scholarship thrice. I had a CGPA soaring above 3.5, and it was wonderful. And I realized that even, when I used to look at things, I would memorize them, and I had this ability, alhamdulillah, innate, which was given to me by Allah, that I could reproduce it myself. In any other words, do you think that you were blessed with the same ability that, once if you're going to see something, if the concept is clear, you can do it as many times as people want you to reproduce it on a paper, on an examination sheet?
I wouldn't say that I have a graphic memory, but my memory is definitely very advanced, and I'm very thankful for that. I would say that that is a mix of being, that's an ability that was given to me by Allah, but it's also something that my parents, especially my mother, has intellectually like developed that capability in me.
Right, right. So, Manur, since you are studying in the England and we would like to explore the environment there, especially the academic environment. So, what sort of academic environment is there? And especially there are lots of reports of, I mean, in England, there is this general perception that the integration is way better than other countries like France or Germany, especially people of different colors or people who are different, I mean, of different ethnicities there. But did you ever experience any form of racism there, or what sort of environment did the teachers provided you? Were they more conducive in your academic or intellectual pursuits? So
yes.
what sort of, or they value diversity and inclusivity at all? What sort of environment is there in your school? How would you like to categorize it?
I think Britain definitely as a whole places a deep emphasis on cultural integration, and I've never felt like I was different because of the color of my skin. Here, everybody really is treated as equal. But I would say the issue that I faced in Britain and in Pakistan, just in academic institutions overall, is because of me being talented or having a higher ability than perhaps some of my classmates. I think that has always made communication with my teachers somewhat difficult because they have to keep everybody in the class at a similar level, and I've always wanted to excel beyond that level, which makes it kind of a challenge.
Right, and also Manur, we do find, especially as a student, that sometimes you feel that your voice is not being heard at the higher levels because you are a student, and maybe the paradigm is very conventional in which the teacher's pedagogy is more focused on. So as a student, what do you feel are some of the academic gaps back in the Pakistan too and in the England too, which you would like to voice out as a brilliant student who can observe it, keenly observe it, and would like to voice out a opinion, especially at a platform like PTV World, which give voice to a lot of young voices out there?
And the difference in standard of education from Pakistan versus UK?
First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. I would say that there definitely is a difference in standard of education in Pakistan and England.
Yes.
But I would say that resources are something that can be overcome. You can excel beyond just being limited to the resources which you have. I would say that in Pakistan, the key thing that needs to be focused on is equality in education and encouraging women to be at the same level as men in different fields in future careers. I would say that young girls, particularly from a young age, they need to be told that they can excel as well in whatever they want to do. I find that there is quite an emphasis on like males and male domination in education and in future careers, and I think that's what needs to be changed.
Exactly, and thank you so much for saying that, because it certainly really needs to be changed. But in addition to that, I believe that, you know, academically we've asked you whatever we wanted to ask you. Now, as an individual, imagine that, you know, if I would have a class fellow or a cousin who was smarter than me, you know, I would always ask for help. I was like, yeah, please, bhai, mujhe padha do, you know, let's do group studies and whatnot.
Or do the assignments.
So, yes, or do the assignments for me. So, first up, I'm going to ask you, do you have more siblings?
Yes, I do. I have a younger sister.
How many siblings are you? And brothers and sisters, how many?
There's 3 of us, so I have a younger sister and a younger brother.
Alhamdulillah. So every time when they do not get as good grades as you, what's your mom and dad saying to them?
I think that because of having me as a child, my parents have really become open to this mindset that every child can only achieve based on their talents and the effort that has been given to them. So my parents are always mindful of the fact that perhaps my siblings didn't have time for that assignment, or perhaps they didn't put as much effort into it. I think based on education, we are a very open family and we come and discuss educational issues on the table.
And do you help your siblings most of the time?
Yeah, definitely.
So you study 34 subjects, you know, you do your things most of the time, you play music, you've cleared all your examination, you've done music theory. On top of that, you're helping your siblings with, you know, kind of studying. Do you get enough sleep?
I do, yeah. I get 8 hours a day.
And what about, you know, your friends in your school? How do they react to you being so smart? And do they ask for help? You know, do they ask you to do their assignments? Do you guide them? And do you ever come across a situation where you know that the teacher in front of you is not telling the right thing, and have you corrected the teacher ever?
My friends, thankfully, are very supportive. They themselves are, mashallah, quite intelligent. So competition has never been an issue between us. In terms
Obviously.
of tutors, I would say that definitely sometimes I have recognized that the information being given to me or to the class is perhaps not accurate. But I am not the type to raise my hand in class and sort of
So
say
how do
that
you
to the
sort it out?
teacher.
For all of those children who are out there, because over here in Pakistan, students do not get that courage to kind of, go to the teacher and be like, sir, I think that, you're incorrect over here and this information really needs to be the right way. So how do you do it? Do you go to the teacher yourself individually and be like, hey, madam, can I come in and then most of the time over here in Pakistan, if you, kind of go up to the teacher and you kind of tell them that, sir, you haven't been teaching us what you were supposed to, they might not even give you a good grade, so you really have to be careful over here.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that definitely there is an attitude of the fact that if somebody is older in age, they are academically or intellectually superior to you. And I think that's an attitude that needs to be challenged. I think that anybody at any age should be able to correct anybody at any other age without feeling worried about it.
Wonderful. And last two questions, Manur, and that is that obviously Pakistan, alhamdulillah, has produced a lot of amazing doctors. True. I'm not trying to change what you've thought of yourself as in future to be a doctor. It's great. But don't you think that becoming a scientist, we would love to go to the moon, or send a rover to the moon, and we would certainly like people like you to contribute to our cause, to our space program as well. So do you think that in future somebody can convince you that, okay, Manur, you can be a doctor, that's fine, but why don't you come and help us in our space project or something else?
Or maybe a PhD doctor,
that you can do it. Because I believe that you can do it.
Thank you so much. I'm very open to any form of career alongside my pursuit of medicine in the future.
Mashallah.
But medicine has been a love for me from a very young age, and I think it would be very difficult to change my mind at this point and go into another career.
Yeah, because there's a lot of backlog in NHS, so please make sure that you rectify that system as well, that everybody gets the time to go to the doctor. But thank you so much, Manur.
Thank
everybody
you so much.
back home away in Pakistan is super proud of you, your parents, and your siblings, and the entire family, because it's that support system, which actually provides you with such an opportunity. You've done it for all of us. Thank you so much, Manur, once again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Look after. Allah Hafiz, bache.
Right. So we would like to wrap up this segment because this was a very interesting conversation. And after we come back from a break, we have a very interesting conversation lined up. So please don't go anywhere.
Yeah, we're waiting. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. For everybody who just tuned into PTV World, you watch your World this morning alongside Shahzad Hasan Khan. And with me, I'm very lucky to have been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. Before heading out towards a short break, we actually were in conversation with a person who in decades and centuries was smarter than Einstein. And it was wonderful to be in conversation with Manur Usman, who scored 34 A-stars, where she was only supposed to appear in 8 exams. She appeared in 34. Wonderful, all the best to her. But there's one thing, before we move on to this other conversation that we are going to have for the betterment of the country, there was one more thing which I've been thinking about, and I thought that, okay, I'm going to take to social media, make a video, and let's see what people think about it. So in recent times, I've seen that there have been a lot of videos which have emerged on social media, and that too about corruption of people. So it's not just the institutions. Unfortunately, it's me, you, and everybody out there, who are watching us on their television screens, that we become a part of that system where we enable corruption, may it be moral, financial, or any sort of other corruption. Now, what I, Hajra, wanted to talk about today was that I think it's going to be our responsibility in order to make sure that we bring Pakistan out of this corrupt practices, and to do so, the only thing that we have to do is that we have to recognize it in the first place, and then second, we have to talk about it.
True.
I think we can do it, right?
I think we can do that, and thank you so much for pointing it out that it is not just the responsibility of the state to tackle it. I think it is the responsibility at the individual level to talk about it, to tackle it, and to make sure that we are giving such moral values to our children that can rectify the evils in the society. And I think, Shahzad, you're very right, and you have hit the nail on the head when you talk about it, because I do feel in the 3-4 years, past 3-4 years, that I feel that there's a lot of degeneracy that has settled in, and the reason is that we are not talking enough about it.
And I'm going to give you an example of it as well.
Ahead.
So imagine that just very recently my car needed some new tires.
Okay.
So I went to a tire showroom and I was in conversation with that gentleman, and I was like, what happened to this store next door? And he said that so there was this gentleman who came up and he was like that you're not complying with the SOPs of COVID-19. So I'll have to seal it. So they were like, okay, what do we have to do? Obviously, there's no COVID, there's no SOPs these days. So he said that, okay, if you can give me tires for my cultist car, I won't seal it. So imagine that 2 or 3 days later, the same gentleman went to the same showroom and said, where are my tires? And the gentleman said, sir, we are going to give it to you for free. So once we'll get it, we'll give it to you. You know what he did? He sealed the shop. And so imagine that we really need to bring out such stories where people kind of start to recognize that, hey, you know what? Because I believe that Muslims have, unfortunately, not all of them, that unfortunately they have forgotten that Allah is watching. I think meanwhile, Allah has given this responsibility to us that we watch, and we make sure that we're going to bring it to that right platform where people are going to recognize that, hey, you know what? You've done a wrong thing. So it may be me, you, anybody else. If you're doing a wrong thing, there needs to be somebody else right next to you to recognize it and let you know that you've done a wrong thing.
Right. Thank you so much, Shahzad, for sharing this anecdote about morality and the state of affairs. Yes, I mean, of course, this is how the state of affairs is, and that is a very sorry state of affairs. But when we talk about the state of affairs, I think there is another very important aspect of it that demands our utmost attention, because it has been a decade since we have been celebrating it. We were definitely talking about CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor.
The Chinese Vice Premier was here.
Yes, the Chinese Vice Premier was here. We celebrated that and we talked about it. And I do feel that this is a subject that is going to be in our conversation for another decade or so, because it's a very important aspect of it, and not just the socio-political aspect of it. I think geographical aspect of it, economic aspect of it, and lots of other aspect of it. Since Shahzad, I do feel that you are vying to learn Chinese because you want the rest of your life
to be. Han hao Nina.
Yes, that's wonderful. So I think without any further ado, we would like to bring our guest into the fore, because he's the expert, and we will talk about celebrating a decade of CPEC. So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been joined by Professor Zameer Awan. He happens to be former diplomat in China, and he's also an analyst. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Salam. Thank you very much.
Right.
So it's wonderful to have you here, but I have a very basic question in the first place, and that is that since you're wearing this union flag of China and Pakistan, why are you wearing another flag of Pakistan individually? That's just a question on a lighter note.
Because I have to.
That's the best answer. Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So in the previous program, we discussed what we have achieved in the last 10 years. $25 billion of investment, may them be on infrastructure, economic zones, and how the local economy needs to work when we talk about Gwadar Port and all of these development. Now, sir, so 10 years have completed. I think first thing which I would want you to kind of talk about is, how do you think that the government of Pakistan needs to take responsibility that whatever pace we have achieved in the last decade, that we kind of double it, triple it, quadruple it?
Absolutely right. You are absolutely right. A lot has been said about the CPEC.
Yep.
And we have celebrated it, and even the Chinese dignitaries has visited Pakistan. The government is giving various statements. Many experts are talking highly about the CPEC, and definitely there are a lot of achievements. But I think that it is not only the media consumption. On grounds, we have to do something more than that one.
Okay.
The potential of CPEC is huge. The Chinese are willing to invest more and more in Pakistan. They are willing to help Pakistan to revive its economy. But do we have that capacity? Are we willing for that one? Because to achieve the maximum benefits of CPEC, we need to work a lot, a hard work. The government should take policy initiatives, become facilitator, and provide enabling environment.
True.
The people of Pakistan have to work very hard. Please note it very, very seriously that China is instrumental for the revival of Pakistan economy. CPEC is the catalyst for the revival of Pakistan economy, but the hard work is our responsibility, the people of Pakistan.
True.
If we are not willing to work hard, the China cannot do it in isolation.
Exactly.
They can help us, they can teach us how to fish, but fishing we have to do at our own.
Right,
exactly.
Right, that's a very interesting point, and I think we would like to develop it further more, because you mentioned about that obviously China is instrumental for our economic revival, but we having this conversation, and why do you think that we are still not unable to develop that self-sufficiency in us, right? Obviously it's important, it has been dubbed as a game changer, there are lots of syllogisms which are attached with it, like deeper than Himalayas, higher than Himalayas, pardon, deeper than oceans, sweeter than honey, and of course it has been there. Yes, yes, it has been there, but then again, what is there within us that is stalling that particular development? And obviously it's we are talking about the transit hub which Pakistan is going to be, and it is going to bring a lot of revival when it comes to I mean the revival economy and geostrategic location. But again, what are the gaps there that we need to fill?
That's true. We always talk higher than the mountain, that is upper space, and we also talk about the deeper than the ocean, which is very, very deep. But we need something on the ground also.
Yeah.
For that we need to work hard.
True.
We should be very, very sincere. We should conceive the CPEC in its original spirit.
True.
And we should conceive the CPEC, and then we should prioritize our projects.
Exactly.
And then negotiate very well, and then execute very well. But unfortunately, we are lacking the capacity.
Which projects should be prioritized in your opinion?
I think till now what we have done, let me revise it, then you will understand. Because I was in China when the CPEC started.
Yep.
I was in a bigger team of the CPEC concept and the bigger framework. At that time, the topmost issue of the government was the electricity, the load shedding.
True.
Of course.
So at that time, the highest priority was the electricity. So out of $46 billion US, the Chinese or the CPEC has fixed 33 billion on the power projects. And alhamdulillah, we have achieved major breakthrough in power sector. Although currently the electricity bill is very heavy, that is a different issue.
That's true.
That's another breakthrough.
But we have produced enough, we are able to produce enough electricity.
Yes.
True.
We cannot buy, that is different aspect. We cannot afford, that is a different issue.
Yeah.
And today we are not talking about that
one. With 56% inflation, certainly we need at least 30% of inflation in our salaries to kind of afford it. But that's a different subject.
That difference, we are not going to focus on that one. But we have, at that time, we have prioritized the electricity.
Yes.
And the second was the road networks, motorways. And alhamdulillah, Pakistan, in almost all parts of Pakistan are very well connected. And there are few more projects of motorways and highways are under execution.
True.
And some are still in the pipeline. But of course, the infrastructure is the basic thing to improve your economy or revive economy.
True.
Definitely, the motorways and transportation sector, especially transportation of goods, is to boost the economic activities, generate revenue, create jobs, and opportunities mean that you do better.
True.
And also, internet connectivity through optical fiber linkage has done. These are the major achievements we have.
Exactly. So
but
which is why
just after having the basic infrastructure developed, now it is a time of the second stage where we have the net rapid development of economy. That is the industrialization, agriculture, social sector, and all these things. We are ready for that stage.
Exactly. Now, sir, what I wanted to ask you was that, you know, as Pakistanis, what we have seen is that in our neighborhood, we have seen that people have utilized human resource as a capital. And now, when we talk about Pakistani human resource, we're in huge number. We're the 5th largest in terms of population. Even with recent consensus numbers, we're somewhat around 24 crore people over here. And unfortunately, we do not have skilled labor. Unfortunately, people are not willing to work. Even if we look at our domestic staff who works with us, unfortunately, every other day they are taking a day off, they do not want to come to work, they have headaches, and these are the common problems that we come across in any institute over here in the country, unfortunately. I'm not saying not taking away anything from hardworking people, but don't you think that there needs to be an establishment of experts exchange mechanism? Because that mechanism will eventually help us, it will ensure meritocracy, it will ensure that there are people for the right job, who are the right people to do that job. Do you think that this will eventually help us, kind of boost that pace that we have lagged, unfortunately, in the past decade?
Unfortunately, last several decades, nepotism was at the extreme.
Okay.
All the political parties were just to secure their vote bank, they have blessed their own people.
True.
And they have appointed on key position their own people.
True.
Above their merit. I mean, ignoring the merit, they have appointed on the key position based on the political affinities.
True.
And that has damaged the whole bureaucracy and the whole structure of the country, unfortunately. But of course, never late, still there is a time if we follow the merit. In fact, it is not very difficult. In education sector, Alhamdulillah, Pakistan has achieved to some extent merit based admission in the universities, especially in the medical college and the engineering universities. True. And if somebody violate that merit, the people can go to the courts. Even that the famous case of Farah Dogar, of the medical student, she was has bypassed the merit, and then she was somebody went to the Supreme Court, and she was
yes, that's very true. But sir, let's talk about the CPEC, and let's talk about there are voices of dissent which want to sabotage this wonderful project, and they're the game changer project, and they are not just the internal voices, they are external voices too, right? And we need to neutralize them, because we believe that this project is extremely important for our development, for cementing our ties with the China, and for the future betterment of Pakistan. So how do you think we can neutralize those voices, and how do you think our state is faring so far in curbing those voices of dissent, or maybe if there is a genuine dissent, satisfying them in the first place and making sure that they are integrated into this project in the first place?
I think the geopolitical scenario is changing rapidly.
True, that's true.
In the whole region.
That's true.
And especially in our neighborhoods. Some countries which were totally against each other now become friends, and some close friends has become enemies.
True.
So we have to be very careful and plan our foreign policy in the light of all the latest changes happening in the region. For that one, the domestic strength is the most important. The unity in the nation is the most important.
True.
We can neutralize all the external elements, external impacts by strengthening the internal unity, empowering the people, people's participation, people say in the system. For example, a terrorist is doing some terrorist act in Pakistan, but who is providing him the accommodation, who is providing him the transport, who is facilitating him? It is me and you, I mean some Pakistanis are doing all these things. So we have to be very vigilant, and we have this responsibility. I mean, it is everyone's responsibility. If I am the house owner, I should not give house to a terrorist.
I mean,
if I am a transport,
but they certainly do not know it now beforehand. Obviously, so I think that's something that we really need to put apparatuses in. So unfortunately, it's not really Pakistanis, but it's a group of people, who are miscreants. So let's label them as miscreants. So why should we label them with a nationality?
In fact, there are some disgruntled people in this country, and as a revenge, they are taking part or supporting such type of things.
We certainly need to keep an eye out.
And yeah, definitely.
True.
And there are some people who are cultivated by the foreign agencies, and we have to identify them.
True.
Pakistan, unfortunately, is very vulnerable and exposed to the external agencies.
True.
And we are...
And hence the formula, you know, where I said that, okay, you know, right after the break, where I said that, you know, if we identify somebody as corrupt, we really need to talk about him.
Yes.
You know, so I think everybody needs to do it and we need to come together. But sir, now let's come down towards the possibilities. So imagine that Pakistan is a budding country with budding population of youngsters, 60% of youngsters are out there. How do you think those youngsters can prepare themselves for the future opportunities that CPEC is going to provide for them?
Let me share with my audience the Chinese experience.
Sir.
In 1980s or earlier that time, whenever a Chinese go abroad for any official trip, for example, a sportsman or a journalist or a student, they escape and they settle down in that countries in the Western world. They don't come back to China. There were cases of such thing that the diplomats or some students or some sportsmen, they went for some activity abroad and they settled in that country. They refused to come back. But when the China has provided attractive policies and provided enabling environment, conducive environment, now the Chinese, they go for study, and even that they have the opportunity to work in Europe and America, but they prefer to come back because they find more attraction in their own country.
True.
I think that if we force people not to leave this country and stop brain drain by force, that will be not very productive.
True.
We need to provide an enabling environment that all the individuals, the youth or the intellect or highly skilled person, they find better opportunities in this country.
Sir,
and they prefer to stay
here.
here.
You. And you know, we really need to identify that, you know, why do you think that the people are in the first place leaving the country? So what I've realized it that God forbid, you know, Alhamdulillah, I still have my patriotism intact, and unfortunately for all of those people that who have left, you know, 1.2 million people have left. The only problem, because I've been in conversation with a few of them, the only problem for them is that they say that, okay, if we are to go to a government office, you know, he says that, you know, somebody else will come in later on, won't stand in the queue, will get his or her work done and leave while we are there, you know, standing in the queue. So they're like that, you know, there's not one system for everybody. And that's the sole reason why people have been leaving this country. There's nothing else other than that. They do not have anything against that. They're like, okay, you know, the rule is different for me, the rule is different for you, you know, so, and that certainly is something which is not happening in Canada. This is something which is not happening in United Kingdom. And that is something which makes them to kind of go over there. So imagine that if you're a powerful person, you know, your land transfer will take place in a day's time, and you won't have to, you might not even have to pay money to anybody else. Imagine if you're not as strong as, you know, anybody else, you know, imagine what the Patwari will do with you, you know. So you will you might have to go, and while we are at it, and since I am on a mission now, so imagine that this gentleman, he was speaking to me and he said that, you know, so I went to this office and, you know, so it was a car transfer or something, and he said that I gave the file and I wanted to do it myself, that why should I pay somebody else, you know, because I can do it. So he wanted to be a better Pakistani. So he went to the excise and taxation department over here in Islamabad, and he gave the file, and the gentleman said, 500 rupees de dein. And he was like, yaar, please come on, yaar, thodi si to sharam karo, you know, everything is complete. So you know what he did? He gave him the file back and he said that this document is missing, go and get it. So the gentleman took out 500 rupees, gave it to him, and the file was accepted there and then, unfortunately. So how do you think that we can stop this?
I think this is the problem, that a well-connected person gets to do the things around the day, and the not so well so connected are left suffering. But I think our state is doing a lot, because in a year or so our state declared that the security paradigm has changed. It has shifted from the conventional to a more broader terms, that is the human security, and they're focusing on human security. And we will see in the coming days that how human security transforms, and it is in the equation with the CPEC opportunities, because obviously it's a game changer, it's a huge project, and our state is investing a lot in that. But with that, we will wrap up our segment and we will say Allah Hafiz to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, for having the cross-pollination of this ideas. And until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz,
good morning.